What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and yes, I know that this is a very late live. I didn't intend on this live being late. I actually had this planned hours ago, but some things came up that I couldn't turn myself away from. So we are here for a brand new episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 14, episode number 7, you guys. This episode, it was titled Gifts and Receipts, I believe is the name of this episode. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the title. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comment section, or if you're in the live chat, correct me there, wherever you are. But I think that's the title of this episode. Let me get to the notes and I will confirm. Yep, Gifts and Receipts. Now, before we go ahead and do get into this episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I'll need you guys to do me a huge solid favor, you guys, and stop taking me out on this date and then having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You guys do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and also by turning on your post notifications. And with that out of the way, you guys, without further ado, let us talk about this episode of New Jersey, shall we? Now, this episode, we pick up where we ended last week's episode, and that was with the altercation, well, the sit down that John Fuda and what's her name? Rachel had with Teresa and Louis, right? And I did notice that in last week's episode with Louis, when when John was saying talking to Teresa, I noticed that Louis never once had anything to say. And I thought that was a little interesting, but you guys can tell me how you think and feel about that in the comment section, you guys. And as I said plenty of times before, when it comes to New Jersey, you guys, the only thing that I ask is that we just be respectful with one another and we don't take this show to heart, right? None of us know Teresa. None of us know Louis. None of us know Rachel, John, Margaret, Joseph, Joe, Melissa, Jennifer, Bill, Danielle, Evan, any of Evan, Jackie, Jen Fessler. We don't know any of these people, right? So I want to put that preference that before we even just get into it. We don't know these people. Now, what I will say is with Teresa, and this is my opinion, you guys can definitely agree or disagree. It's fine, whichever way you go when it comes down to the situation with Teresa. But for Teresa to say that she wasn't calling John a drug dealer currently, it slipped out of your mouth pretty fast when you were having, when he left out, when you're telling him he got the wrong girl and all that kind of stuff. You called him a loser and you called him a drug dealer. Limited vocabulary, Teresa, huh? And again, you guys can feel however you want to feel, but Teresa knows exactly what she was doing. Like when she said that comment, it was a dig about him being a drug dealer. And I just want her to be open and honest about it. If she would be honest about it, I'd be like, you know what, I can't even be mad at you because you keeping it real. But to me, she's not keeping it real. And so remember that not Danielle, but Rachel and when they got there, Teresa told them that she heard from Jackie that her brother was having a housewarming party, and so she was going to send them the gift. And I have my 2 cents about that gift in a little bit, and we'll definitely talk about it once we get to the party. But um, when John and Rachel left, they ended up leaving the gift. And I was like, I don't blame them. But you guys can tell me what you think, what you feel in the comment section, you guys. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next person, you guys. Now, next up, let's talk about Danielle. I thought it was so interesting with this episode. The solo scene that we got with Danielle, you know, I don't have a problem with seeing the housewives do their typical mommy duties, right? But that's literally what that scene was with Danielle. we saw Danielle as she was getting her kids ready for school, and I was like, "Oh, is this all the footage that they had of Danielle in for this episode? Like, this was all the footage." But I was like, you know what? It is what it is. And again, you guys can tell me how you think and feel about it in the comment section. And that's really all we got for Danielle in this episode. Until we get to the party, we'll discuss Danielle a little deeper at the party. And I have my thoughts and my opinions. And sorry, you guys, my best friend is texting me. I have my thoughts and my opinions about what was said, and we'll definitely discuss them as we get close, as we get to the end of the episode. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the scene with Danielle. Okay, so let's go ahead and who we want to move on to Dolores, Black Dolores. So, you guys, Dolores. I like Dolores, but I think, like a lot of other people say, when it comes down to Dolores, and I'm gonna actually talk about Dolores too as we get to the party, right? Because I don't really, part of me can see how Dolores can feel like she's Switzerland, but I don't really think that Dolores is 100% Switzerland because Dolores can call out the things that people say and do to Teresa, but you don't too often see her tell Teresa when she's wrong. And sometimes I wonder if that is like, here's my problem when it comes to Jersey, right? When the girls come onto the show, I don't know why they feel like they have to kiss the ring, or sometimes I feel like some of the girls feel like they have to be, if they don't get along with Teresa, they have to be afraid of Teresa. And I also feel like this is partly because of what fans say, right? That this is her show. And okay, we can say that this is her show, right? But like I made the comparison last week with Nene and Vicky. Nene was that girl on Atlanta. Nene is not there anymore. Vicky was an OG on OC. Vicky's not there anymore. Oh, also, you guys, since New Jersey, not New Jersey, but since OC comes back on July 11th, which is 5 days before my birthday, I feel like I want to this. I saw the trailer for OC, and I think I want to review. I want to go back and review this season that's coming up, and I want to stick with it. Let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, you guys, with Dolores, let's talk about Dolores. So Dolores has her mom and Gabby over, right? And so at this point, they were talking about they met Frankie's girlfriend. Now, for y'all to tell that girl that she comes second to Nana, that will make me not want to have, getting, especially not getting married. If you're gonna sit here and tell me that grandma comes before me, uh, not really. You leave and you cleave, but hey, whatever. You know, I'm not Italian, so, but I mean, I'm pretty sure when it comes to that, like they're probably similar to you know African American families, but it is what it is. So they also talked about Frank proposing to his girlfriend Brittany, right? And so that prompted the conversation about Dolores and Paul. With Paul, the fact that Paul and his wife have been separated for now in previous episode, I remember Dolores saying 10 years, but now what I've heard, I think I heard this episode 14 years, and it's just like either shit or get off the pot at this point, right? Because you can divide up assets unless you guys remember I told you that Melissa's old nose said that Louis told her that they had a brothel. So I don't know how true that is, but it's just something kind of off with that whole situation with Dolores and Paul, and not even Dolores, it's Paul. You get with, and my thing with Dolores is that you get with men who, for some odd reason, they can't 100% commit to you. And I think Dolores wants that. Dolores may not necessarily want, I don't know if she necessarily wants marriage, but I think she wants something long term. And I think she cuts herself short with the batch of men that she's picked, right? Because you think about David. he couldn't be what she wanted him to be, and now Paul, right? And I also do think that it would be a bad idea for Dolores to go into a business arrangement with Paul. And it's interesting. He can go into a business arrangement with you, but he can't divorce his wife. It's something that we're missing with that situation. I'm so glad that her daughter was really kind of trying to tell her, like, you know, we kind of like him, but there's something off there. And I'm glad I'm glad that her daughter, because her daughter gave her a look, and I was like, exactly, that's the same look I've been giving your mama since this season started. And after telling us that he's been separated for years, decades at this point, from his ex-wife, and they still have not gotten a divorce. Dolores, I just don't think that. And then after last week's episode, the way he talked to Dolores, I really, truly did not like that whatsoever. Like it didn't sit right in my spirit. But I want you guys to tell me what you thought and how you think and feel about that situation. And I guess we'll go ahead and move on to the next person. I guess. So next up, let's go ahead and get her out the way. Let's talk about Teresa. It really wasn't much with Teresa in this episode. So we saw Teresa after she had the meeting with the Fooders, right? And she's talking about how happy she is to be around her family after meeting up with John Fugazi. And I was just like, girl, okay. But Rachel did the same thing. So I'm not going to come down too hard on Teresa because Rachel did the same thing. So I don't want to be like, oh, you just going so hard against Teresa because you don't like her, but you're not saying it about Rachel. I'm gonna say the same thing about Rachel when I get to her, right? But so we see, I noticed in this episode, Teresa didn't have much in this episode either, much like Danielle, because all we saw was a barber come over to cut Teresa's stepson's hair, and I was like, this is it. Now she did talk to Melania about college, and then we also did see her later in the episode talk to Gia about living with her boyfriend, right? Now, I want you guys to tell me your thoughts and opinions on this because Gia is 22 years old. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would be like, tell my child, yeah, go ahead and live with your boyfriend and see how it works. Like, I don't know if I would say that. I don't know, but I mean, she's a grown woman, so she's gonna do what she wants to do, right? But 22, I mean, a relationship, it could be a long lasting relationship. So I'm not gonna say don't do it, but I'm not gonna say do it as well, right? I don't know. Feel free to chime in the comments, you guys, and let me know, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's okay that Gia is moving in with the boyfriend, or do you think like y'all are? And so here's the thing for me, you guys. What I'm trying to say, before, I don't want anybody to feel any type of way. What I'm saying is, I just think that they're too young. 22 years old. At 22 years old, I was not looking to shack, because basically you're shacking up with somebody, as my grandmother used to say. I wasn't trying to shack up at no damn 22 years old. I wanted to, because at 22 years old, I was 22. What was I in? I think I was finishing up college at that point. Yeah, I was finishing up college at that point, and I was just going out, having fun with my friends, going to the bars, going to the clubs, just having a good old time. And I didn't have to worry about getting home to somebody. And I wasn't, I was in a relationship, but we didn't live together. Now, we would spend the night with we would spend the night, but never living together. But hey, do what's best for you, and if it works, it works. If it don't, then you live and you learn, right? So that's really all we got with Teresa, and we'll go ahead on and move over to Rachel. Now, with Rachel, again, I'm noticing a trend with this episode. The ladies' individual scenes didn't really give a whole hell of a lot of nothing, because we see Rachel playing with her girls. And what I will say for Rachel is, I'm sending her positive vibes. I'm sending well wishes and prayers for her daughter, because her daughter has so many different medical issues that she's dealing with. And the only thing that I hope and pray for Rachel with her daughter is that she is nothing but a happy and healthy little girl, and she's able to live a very good and long life, right? But I don't think that any of her medical issues are life threatening, but I hope that nothing happens. So that's what we got with Rachel. Rachel kind of had the same sentiment as Teresa, and I was like, okay, Rachel, the same way I felt about Teresa. It's like, really, is this what we talking about? I'm just so happy to be with my family after what happened with Teresa. And it's like, okay, I was annoyed when Teresa did it, and I was annoyed when Rachel did it. So I don't want anybody to say I'm being biased towards Teresa because I don't like Teresa. So let's leave that on the cutting room floor. You don't have to put it in the comment section. You don't have to mention it. So that is it. That is all. Now we're going to move on to the next person who didn't necessarily have a solo scene in this episode, but she did have a scene, and I want to talk about it, and that is Jennifer Aiden, you guys. So we see Jennifer. So Jennifer is getting ready for Melissa's housewarming party, and that's the big part. That's the big thing of this episode. So Melissa, not Melissa, but Jennifer was talking to Bill about this, and she was talking about the fact that she wonders how long it'll take for Joe to come and speak to her. So she tells Bill to stay around her, and I was like, girl, if he don't want to speak to you, just because Bill is with you doesn't mean that he necessarily has to speak to you or that he will speak to you. So I don't know where you get that from, but okay, Jennifer, whatever. So then Bill asked Jennifer, like, how does Teresa feel about you going to Melissa's party, right? Oh, that's something I forgot. I left out with the scene with Teresa. So let's go back to that real quick. I'm gonna talk about that real quick and we'll get back to Jennifer. So the scene with Teresa, and it's mighty funny to me, and I didn't see what people were saying on Twitter because you guys remember Jersey is I have it muted. But I found it mighty funny to me that with Teresa, Teresa was talking about the fact that Danielle is friends with people that she's not too fond of. And then G was like, hopefully she's not talking crap about, talking crap to them about you. But Jackie just did that same thing in last week's episode with Teresa about Margaret. Pot, meet the kettle, because it's a contradiction. So it's okay for for Jackie and potentially Jen Fessler to talk shit about Margaret to Teresa, but be damned if Danielle is over there with Melissa, Rachel, or Margaret talking shit about her. Like, that is a contradiction. Like, get the hell out of here with that stupid shit. And again, if y'all feel any way about that, it is what it is. I thought it was a contradiction, right? I thought it was a complete contradiction. So back to Jennifer. So Bill asked Jennifer how Teresa feels about this. So, like I said, she said that Teresa said just don't mention her, right? And I'm cool with that, right? I would say the same thing to my friend, like, hey, you can go hang out and be friends with whoever you want to be friends with, but just don't mention me to them. And that goes to Jen Fessler. And somebody asked that question to Jen Fessler last night on Watch What Happens Live, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm a two faced bitch." And I was like, "You." She was being facetious when she said it, but I'm like, "But you really were being two faced. Your friends asked you verbatim not to have a conversation with Teresa about them, and what do when you sit down with Teresa? You have a conversation with Teresa about them. It's shady as hell." So that's just my 2 cents. So that's that. Was there anything else with Jennifer that I want to talk about? Oh, Jennifer. Now I will say I don't typically agree with Jennifer Aiden on a lot of things. And the way that they're telling this story about Lena and Danielle, it sounds elitist. But then the way that Danielle explained it later in the episode, I was like, well, I kind of see her point of view, right? But we'll talk about Danielle at the party once we get there. But the way that the ladies had Lena talking at the party, it definitely 100% sounded elitist. And let me know what you guys. Do you guys agree that it sounded elitist? But we can definitely talk about it. And is there anybody else that had a solo scene in this episode that I need to talk about? I think we got everybody because we talked about Danielle, Dolores, Teresa, Rachel, Jennifer, and now we're gonna wrap it on up with Melissa's pate. I will say one thing about Melissa, that house, coming from where it came from, baby, it looks the fuck good. I would love to live there. So Melissa. So everybody showed up to Melissa's house. We all know Teresa's not coming, and I'm cool with that, right? Like I said, the house was nice. So when Rachel got there, Rachel had to give Melissa the tea about what happened with she, John, and Louis and Teresa, and the fact that when John was talking to Teresa, Louis never said anything, which I thought that was kind of interesting last week myself, that Louis had nothing to say. But then once they left, Louis made some comments. He made a few little comments, and I was like, "But you never said that when he was sitting there, right?" But it is what it is, right? So after that, we Rachel was telling Melissa about the gift that Teresa wanted to send, right? And how they left the gift at the restaurant. And Melissa's like, "Well, that's good because I didn't want it coming into my house." While she's saying that, guess what happened? That gift came via Dolores and Polly. So I was like, well, and I was with Rachel because Rachel turned around and looked. She was like, I know you lying. The gift made it. The gift made it. So here's my thing with Dolores. We're gonna talk about Dolores and get into Dolores, right? Because Dolores then did give Joey the gift, right? And what I will say about Teresa and Joe, I think that I think the biggest problem with Teresa, Joe, Melissa, and all of them, I think the biggest issue in with them is this show. Kind of like I feel about Kim, Kyle, and Kathy on Beverly Hills. I think that the show has affected their relationship. I also feel that with Jersey, this show has affected their relationship. And I think with Jersey, it's so toxic and the fans get involved. And I think that that's another problem when it comes to Jersey. But you guys can tell me your thoughts and opinions if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, let's be respectful in the comment section when we disagree, right? Um, but what I also was going to say is I do believe that when it comes to Joe, I can't say for Teresa, but I can say for Joe. I think that Joe misses his sister, and again, you guys can agree or disagree with that. But again, let's be respectful in what we say. Now, when Rachel was talking at one point, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. What I was going to say is when it comes to Joe, I do 100% agree with Joe about the fact that when it comes to Teresa, if you wanted to extend an olive branch, then why don't you come to my house when no one knows, right? Come to my house, knock on the door, come in, have a conversation with me, and we can talk about it. But to send this gift, it looks like you're trying to make and this is just my personal opinion. To send that gift to him, it looks as if you are trying to say, "Oh, hey, look, I sent my brother a gift and my brother didn't accept it. So what am I supposed to do?" Right? That's how it looks to me. But again, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Now that card, I was like, "Oh, Joe, they gonna eat you alive." When he threw that card into that fire, I was like, "Joe, they gonna eat you alive. They gonna eat you alive." Now, let's talk about Jackie real quick, you guys. Jackie is a conundrum to me. I just don't, for the life of me, understand Jackie. Because at one point, Melissa and Margaret were talking to Jackie, right? And this is at the point where Rachel was talking to Dolores them and all the ladies about what happened with with Teresa and Louis, and the fact that the poster child for mortgage fraud came up, and Dolores had an issue with that. I was like, so Dolores, you have a issue with her, with him saying that she's the poster child for mortgage fraud, but not the fact that she called that man a drug dealer. Oh my God. So then Jackie's over here whispering to Jen Fessler saying, you know, if I think that Rachel would have made up with Teresa if it wasn't for her friendship with Margaret and Melissa. And I was like, excuse you, girl. Run that back, because prior to last week's episode, I didn't notice that you had an issue with Melissa. I thought you just had a problem with Margaret. So where does fever coming from? Like, I'm so confused by Jackie. I really truly am, right? I really truly am. And so um at one, Rachel was also talking about the comment that Teresa made about Jaden's mother, right? So let me kind of speak on this real quick, because I saw a lot of people who were upset about that comment where she said, "Hi, I'm Jaden's mother." And I want to say this for someone who has a biological mother and who was adopted as well, right? And when people would refer to my biological mother as my mom, I would take that as an offense, right? Now, granted, my biological mother wasn't like Jaden's mom. She wasn't in prison and all that kind of stuff. So my biological mother just wasn't the best person at the time that I got adopted to me. And so anytime people would say, "Oh, well, that's your mother," I would take that as a slap in my face that you are disrespecting my actual mother who raised me, who loves me, right? And so I can see how Rachel felt that way. I can also see how people be like, well, that is his biological mother. And the thing is, we don't know what the relationship is between Jaden and his biological mother. So we can't really speak towards that, if that makes sense to you guys, right? But I'm just giving a little tidbit on how that may how how he may feel. I'm not saying that's how he feels, right? So after that, um Jen Aiden was saying that she feels that what's her name? Rachel should have accepted Teresa's apology. But the thing is, Teresa didn't apologize. Teresa's not apologizing. You don't, like I said last week, you don't start an apology with if or but. That negates it. If you felt I said this, if that, but that negates it, especially if someone is telling you how they feel. You don't, you take into account what they're saying, that, okay, I made you feel this way. That was not my intention, and I apologize to you for that. But Teresa couldn't do that. So it is what it is, you guys. I was just kind of annoyed with that. So then we move over to the guys. Now, this is gonna probably be an unpopular. Well, no, it's not gonna be an unpopular opinion, because I think that people might feel the same way. So John was talking to the other guys, right, about the comment that Teresa made, right? And then he brought up the analogy that Jackie made a few seasons ago. What I will say is I got where he was coming from, but these are my opinions. I do believe that those are apples and oranges, because this is something that you did. And I don't know for a fact that what Jackie said she heard Gia did was true or not. But again, let me know if you guys agree. I really do believe that those are apples and oranges, right? So Dolores took her messy behind over to Margaret to tell Margaret, like, hey, Jackie out there talking shit about you, basically saying that, if it wasn't for you and Melissa being friends with Rachel, Rachel would have made up with Teresa by now. So uh Margaret went outside and she confronted Jackie, right? And so Jackie wants to bring up the fact that Margaret took credit for her getting her book deal. Now, unless this happened behind the scenes, what they showed on the episode didn't really, she didn't say that because of her, you got the book deal. She said she was the first person to know about said book deal, right? And then, she's talking about, and you mentioned my mom. Now, Margaret, girl, I like you. I like you a lot. But you did bring up her mama. You did bring up her mama. So I can't defend you there, Margaret. I really love to defend you, but I can't defend you, Margaret. Love you, girl. Love you down, but I can't defend that. Um, so no, what I will say is, oh my God, Margaret is messy. Margaret is messy, but I'm that type of person too. So then we see Danielle and Jennifer. They got into it, and I was incredibly confused about this. Now, like I said earlier, with this whole situation with Lena, Danielle, I got what you're saying about the whole thing of you guys had the VIP section, right? And it was just supposed to be um, Jennifer, Teresa, and Dolores, right? In the VIP section. I got that. And so you asked, and then there were other people in the VIP section. So the way that Danielle says it, she made it seem as if she wanted everybody who wasn't the main, the housewives out of this section, right? And that's fine. Now, what I will also say about this is with Lena, the woman, I don't know if she did your hair or if she touched up your hair, but she did a service for you for free. I mean, you could have let the woman stay in the VIP section. I get that you said that you didn't want, I get the fact that you say you didn't want the fans and everybody to, you know, crowd you guys. And that's understandable for safety reasons. I understand that, right? Because some of these fans can be overzealous, and I get that. Now, what I did catch was she talked about the fact that they were trying to invite Laura. I was like, oh my God. You know, some of y'all will try to defend Teresa them. They are trying to invite Laura to fuck with Margaret. Like, I know y'all see that. And so Danielle says she don't want Margaret at her party. Now, this is the part where I got kind of confused. Why did Jennifer feel that, she put that Danielle should have put Aiden plastic surgery up there? I don't know where she felt that they should have put them. I was kind of confused about that. If you guys understood what she was saying, definitely chime in the comment section and let me know, because, like I said, I was just a wee bit confused, right? So then we move back over to Dolores. So Dolores was having a conversation. She was talking to Jackie because she done made this huge mess between Jackie and Margaret, right? So Dolores was talking to Jackie. Mind you, Jackie went back in the house after her and Margaret had the argument and went and hugged Joe. And I was with Margaret, like, girl, don't hug my man. Like, me and you ain't cool, so you don't need to be hugging up on my man, girlfriend. Like, that ain't what we doing over here. You fine, you can move along, move along, girlfriend. But child, when Margaret literally sat there and sent Dolores that text message of what Jackie said, and that the fact that Jackie called her a slob. Now, Jackie, I don't care how you clean it up, a slob, a slob. I was with Dolores, like, girl, you think of me as a slob? Okay, like that's weird that you would say that. But yeah, you guys, that is the episode for Real Housewives of what was this? Real Housewives of New Jersey, you guys. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, please stay safe. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Wash your hands, and I will catch you guys in the next video. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for I'm going to do They Cutting the Fool, and then I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the Real Housewives of Dubai. Bye, y'all.